I'm Plami, and in this episode of Plami's Thoughts On, I'm gonna be finally getting back to continuing with my reviews of one of my favorite series ever, Charmed. First of all, I just want to say I'm sorry I've taken so long to get back to reviewing Charmed because for some reason I just really love watching like 10 or so episodes of Charmed, then forgetting about the show for like 2 months, and then is when I finally decide to do the reviews for the episode. So this is probably not gonna even be that great of a review because I've forgotten most of the episodes and I'm just gonna go off of the notes that I have written about the episode as I watched it. But yeah, I'm still gonna do my best. And honestly, a lot of the opinions that I'm gonna have about this episode are probably gonna be still focused on the storyline that we've been having for quite a while at this point, aka Phoebe and Co. So it's just gonna be a lot of reiteration of what I've already said. So yeah, the episode is called Happily Ever After, and as the name might imply, it's obviously an episode that has a fairy tale twist to it. And I always love these kind of episodes that take something and kind of do these shows spin on it. Uh, these kind of genre shows, be it sci-fi or fantasy, or like old style of fantasy, or just supernatural stuff, love doing these kind of concepts, their own take on certain concepts. So it's always fun for me when we have that. I really enjoy them, and overall, I'd say this was like a fine episode. Again, it's been a while, so I can't really say whether it was a good or a bad episode. I'm just gonna say the things that I liked and things that I didn't like about this episode. Honestly, with this show in general, it's more about uh, the things in the contents, like the plots, that kind of bother me, not really whether it's well executed or not, because I never have really a problem where I don't feel invested in the show, or whether I don't buy anything that is happening in the show. I buy it. I very much buy it. Like, I'm invested in the show. I don't really have a suspension of disbelief kind of moment, but a lot of the time I'm just confused or infuriated with the characters' behaviors, as is the case in this episode for so many reasons, honestly. Because as usual, we have a continuation of the Phoebe and Cole stuff. For some fucking reason, she continues to be angry at him, even warning him against attacking or harming her sisters, despite the fact that Cole has not shown any reason why he would want to do that, or an inclination that he will do that. Like, I don't understand why she's so angry at him, why she blaming him for stuff. Because, like, even if you try to kind of blame him for the situation that he has put himself in, it's like she is the cause of it. Last season, she is the reason why he wasn't able to get rid of the source's powers. She was the reason, because she was, for some reason, I guess, brainwashed by the seer into preventing him from giving his powers to that other guy. But like, it's her fault. I feel like all her behavior is purely coming out of selfish reasons, because at the end of that, they supposedly vanquish him, right? And send him to the beyond, where if he's a demon, he gets sent to hell, and if he's a good guy, I mean, he probably wouldn't even be sent there in the first place, but he manages to survive that somehow and even get himself new powers. And yet, it really kind of feels like Phoebe is angry at him for still being alive, because for some reason she just wants to be done with him in a way. And like, I can understand if the show was kind of going for this kind of stalker thing that Cole's love for Phoebe kind of gives off. Because in this episode and in some of the following episodes, he does give off this kind of like um, energy where he is a little bit of a stalker to her and doesn't want to accept that Phoebe just doesn't want to be with him at this point. So there's that aspect of it, but the show doesn't really do a good job of portraying that, because most of the time it's not trying to portray Cole as a bad guy, like when they're clearly trying to portray him as a bad guy, as they do in some of the following episodes. Yeah, it is creepy. But when he's just showing his love for her and doing good things for her, yeah, it seems a little bit pushy and toxic, because Phoebe has shown many times that she doesn't want to be with him, but she also doesn't really fucking have a legitimate reason to refuse to be with him. And what I mean by that is that she doesn't want to be with him. Like, I don't even understand why. She hasn't even really fucking offered a reason, because last I remember she wanted to be with him, but he turned out to be evil, and she blamed him for it, despite the fact that he was kind of outside of his control. And again, I'm pretty sure it was her fault that he ended up getting consumed by the source's powers. So she was at fault for that. She was at fault for him not giving up the powers, and after vanquishing him, she's also at fault for him getting out of that place with demonic powers, because if she actually helped him get out without the powers, they might have actually managed to be finally happy together. But no, for some reason she refused, because she's a... Honestly, I don't even like using that word, but she's a bitch. She's genuinely a fucking bitch. Because she was selfish about the decision, because she's like, "Ooh, Cole, you're dead. I've moved on. You should move on to hell as well." And Cole, rightly so, called her out. And I'm pretty sure I even talked about that in the review of that episode. He called her out that she gets to go to heaven, so she doesn't have to give a shit, but he gets to go to hell, and she doesn't want to help him with that. She doesn't want to save him for that. She maybe wants to help him pass on and suffer through hell, but she doesn't want to get him out of the place that he is in right now. So to me, that's a purely selfish decision. And it continues in this episode as well. He keeps doing good things for her, helping her, and maybe she doesn't want that. And again, it plays kind of like into the toxic argument that Cole's behavior towards Phoebe, in terms of how adamant he is to be with her, is toxic. But I don't feel like the show is trying to imply that it's toxic. It's just that it's something that I perceive as a little bit of toxic, because the show doesn't try to portray that as the reason for why Phoebe doesn't want to be with him. It's for stupid reasons that don't make any fucking sense. But yeah, we have that side of the episode, with her attacking him constantly and treating him as the bad guy, even though he hasn't done anything to be the bad guy. And even if he did, it would be Phoebe's fault for it, because she didn't want to help him when he could have been saved from having these demonic powers and stuff. But yeah, sadly, Phoebe is not the only infuriating part in this episode. There's a little bit of infuriation from Piper as well, because in this episode, they're trying. Leo and Piper are trying to deal with the fact that they are gonna have the baby, and they're trying to build a crib for it or something. I don't know if it was in this episode in the beginning, or whether it happened in one of the previous episodes, but there was that moment in which they were building a crib for the baby or something, and the baby essentially summons their grandma. And I remember in that there's like one very prominent review of this Charmed series that I've watched, and I honestly, for the most part, agree with those reviews, although I kind of disagree with some of the, I guess, the tone of that review, that this show is fucking garbage. I very much disagree that it's garbage. I'm really confused at some of the writing that it has, and some of the decisions. It's just very infuriating, you know? But I agree with one of the points that that person made in the video, that the dead characters in this show don't really seem to stay dead for a while. Like, their mom comes back a couple of times, their grandma comes back in this episode, so what's the fucking point of them being dead if they can just come back whenever they feel like it? And yeah, they kind of make it a point that it's the baby that summons her, because it feels like it needs her, but I don't know. But because she's back in this episode, for some reason Piper kind of reverts into a submissive position in the family, because whenever a bad thing that we don't know who caused in this episode happens, and everybody's like, "Yeah, Phoebe, do this thing that could potentially kill you," and Paige rightfully calls it out that it's dangerous, their grandma says that it's fine, we have to find out who caused this bad thing to happen, so risk your life or whatever. And instead of Piper agreeing with Paige, well, about being sensible and not risking their life, she's like, "Well, if Grams thinks it's safe, then it's safe." And that really fucking infuriated me, because why are you so easily swayed by your family? Do you not have a brain on your own? Especially now that you're the biggest sister. She's been she's shown a lot of growth, with now being the biggest sister and having to take care of her younger sisters. She's definitely grown into that role that Prue was in, I feel like, and it's honestly even better than Prue in some ways. But that moment really personally infuriated me, in that regard. So yeah, obviously because this episode was like a story-themed episode, we had some takes on existing stories. Like I honestly don't even remember at this point, so don't even ask me. But there was this guy with an axe who is from a famous story. There was the uh, poisoned apple thing, which causes one of the sisters to uh, be in a coma or whatever. That was kind of like actually a little bit of a funny side plot. I really like that. But we have those takes, but as usual with Charmed, and maybe even with shows like this, it's very bare bones and not really given any depth whatsoever. It doesn't really have much of quality to it, and that's going to be something that I'm going to get back to in one of the next episode reviews, because in that one we have Charmed's take on superheroes, so there's some stuff to talk about that one as well. We again have a continuation of sexualized outfits in the show, and it's probably gonna get worse. From what I've heard, it's gonna get worse as the seasons go on, but it really feels weird, because like the outfits are not even good, It's not even like high quality looking outfits, because in this episode, during that moment that I just talked about, where Piper was submissive to her grandma for some dumb reason. It was a scene in which one of the sisters, Phoebe, was sent shoes. She suspects that it's from Cole, but it's obviously not from Cole. It's from the evil witch, who is the villain of this episode, and she puts them on. And obviously, as you might expect in an episode like this, she is essentially supposed to be Cinderella, so she gets a makeover, but the makeover that she gets, like the clothes that she gets to wear, are not even good. Like, if she's supposed to be Cinderella, why she has an outfit not even fitting for a whore, frankly. And I don't really even like using this kind of language in this kind of mostly mild reviews, but like, her outfit is fucking garbage. It feels like it's straight out of like some second-hand website that you buy clothes from. Like something that you might have at like a carnival or something. And honestly, sometimes even those are higher quality. It feels like very cheap. Like, why didn't you just have her wear an actual, like a huge ball gown or something, and all this kind of like a whore outfit? I don't know. It feels. It also looks very cheap, which is, I guess, the thing that bothers me the most. Because if it was a pretty outfit and everything, it could have worked. But it looks bad, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying, because if you're gonna sexualize them, at least sexualize them with nice clothes, But yeah, I don't know. So by the end of the episode, Grams obviously really realizes that she's not needed anymore, and that she's kind of ruining everything by being here, because Piper becomes more submissive and not really able to make decisions on her own. And she's obviously bad influence on everybody else, because Phoebe gets into trouble because of her. So yeah, they obviously save the day in actually a really fun way, with Piper having to use the red shoes and travel to the place where the witch came from and destroy her. But honestly, again, the most interesting part of this episode for me is just the Phoebe and Cole stuff, because I'm really rooting for Cole. Because as much as the show tries to portray him as a toxic asshole, and again, I'm going to talk about that more in some of the next reviews, because that's where it's shown more, he ultimately cares for Phoebe. Like, he fought off the source to be with her, and she prevented that from happening, honestly. So the blame was on her, and he still continues to do good for her. Yeah, he wants to be with her, but he wants it because he's good. He's half human, and I don't understand why she continues to treat him like a piece of shit. And in this episode, even he does something just to make her happy. He helps her and gets her with a guy that makes her happy, just so he can see her happy. It's not even about to really benefit him, only maybe barely, because he is going to show her that he is actually good. But it's not, you can definitely argue that he's doing it just to make her happy, not really to make her happy so she would be with him. So I really appreciate that, but like, it still continues to infuriate me, and it's really making me hate Phoebe so fucking much. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a fine episode, but definitely not like one of the classics or anything. Overall, I think I'll give this episode a 7.8 out of 10. But yeah, there's not much to say about this one. I'm really excited to get into and cover all the episodes that I watched, because I really want to get back to the show and see what's gonna happen going forward. Because I am at this point until... give me a second, let's see which episode we are. I've seen, I guess, until episode 16 of season 5. So I do know the end of certain storylines that I just talked about, but I'm gonna keep that for when I get to those episodes reviews. So yeah, what did you guys think about that episode, if you've ever watched it, or if you have any thoughts about this episode? I would really be happy to read your comments down below, so make sure to comment down below. And before we end this video, I just want to give a huge thanks to my 2 level 3 Patreons on Patreon, Omari Bridgman and White Shadow Wolfie. If you want to join them, you can do that by going down in the description below and clicking on the link to my Patreon. You don't even have to subscribe to the same tier as them. There's the lowest tier, which is just $2 per month. That would just be for general support, because there isn't really a perk for it, but you'll still get a thank you message on my YouTube channel. But it's just for general support, because really, for you Charmed fans, there isn't really any specific content that I'm doing that you don't really get to see on the YouTube channel. Maybe at some point in the future, I could maybe try to do some kind of a reaction to this series. Obviously, it's not going to be a blind reaction, because I would have seen throughout the whole series, but it could still work, I guess. But the thing is that when I first started my YouTube channel, I was planning on doing reactions to Charmed, and I even recorded a couple of reactions, but because of copyright, for some reason, whoever owns Charmed is really adamant to prevent it from being uploaded, reactions being uploaded. Because like, I've seen even reaction channels who focus on reacting to TV shows really struggle with uploading reactions to this show, with them getting constantly claimed and blocked and everything. So when I first started the YouTube channel, it just felt like too much of a pain in my ass to try to deal with that. But maybe at some point in the future I could figure something out, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Also check out the description to my Twitter if you want to follow me over there, and to my Wattpad where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you enjoy my stories, or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to Patreon, where I can pledge support and help get the channel going and help support me so I can keep writing stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think it's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!